projects, financing has been a source of many significant changes. Governor Emefiele's belief in and commitment to this project has been awesome. Without Governor Emefiele's courageous support and backing, this project would not have stood a chance of successful completion. Governor Emefiele moved mountains to ensure the success of this project. Indeed, apart from the top management of the refinery itself, no one in this gathering has visited this site more than Governor Emefiele. So we are indeed very, very grateful. To our bankers and financiers, both local and offshore, have demonstrated a great deal of patience and indulgence in seeing us through many difficult times, including the COVID period. I must especially appreciate the Afrexim Bank and its president, Professor Benedict Orama, CON, whose unwavering support, encouragement, and thoughtful advice have helped us to overcome even the most daunting challenges. Professor Orama, I want to thank you not only for this project, I want to thank you for the great job you are doing for Africa as a whole.
Refinery capable of serving an entire nation and continent. To them, our foreign friends, projects of this magnitude are usually only undertaken by sovereigns, not individuals. But like Nelson Mandela once said, it always seems impossible until it is done. Today, Your Excellencies, it is with extreme delight that I say that President Mandela's quote has come true for us in Nigeria. The impossible has today become possible. I am glad that we never doubted ourselves as Nigerians and our capabilities. Under your leadership, President, this seemingly unattainable project has birthed and correspondingly, under the incoming administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigeria will cease the importing petroleum products, fertilizer, and petrochemical that drained over $26 billion in foreign exchange in 2022. The self-sufficiency in refined petroleum, urea, and polypropylene, which Nigeria has attained with this project, is a strong testament to our leadership, dedication, and focus and commitment. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the takeoff of this refinery comes with numerous economic benefits to Nigeria. In the first instance, it will generate thousands of direct jobs of over 135,000 permanent jobs. I'm also proud to state that electricity of about 12,000 megawatts of electricity will also be generated. More importantly, this project avails Nigeria with significant savings, both in terms of foreign exchange and in easing the fiscal burden of our federal government. Available data at Central Bank of Nigeria as of 2014 shows that at least 30% of the foreign exchange required to meet Nigeria's import needs went into the importation of refined petroleum products. It is instructive to note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that according to the balance of payment statistics, the cost, including the freight, of petroleum products imports into Nigeria doubled over a 5-year period from about $8.4 billion in 2017 to $16.2 billion, including an annual average of $11 billion, before rising further to $23.3 billion at the end of 2022. At this rate, the average annual cost of petroleum products import to Nigeria could reach $30 billion by 2027 if we continue to rely on petroleum imports. These figures, Your Excellencies, suggests that the refinery could engender foreign exchange savings to our country of between $25 and $30 billion annually. Aside from the nearly $30 billion foreign exchange savings from the reduction in petroleum products, the economy is projected to benefit an extra $10 billion of foreign exchange inflow annually through the export of refined products. This project will equally provide support to our federal government in its fiscal operation, as it could help to ease budget constraints of funding petroleum subsidy and engender fiscal savings. Your Excellencies, Dangote Refinery is a blessing to Nigeria and Africa as a whole, given the favorable spillovers from this project are able to expected to spread from Nigeria to other parts of the world. It is in this regard, Your Excellencies, and consistent with federal government drive to diversify the economy, that the Central Bank of Nigeria, through its various development finance intervention, has continued to support critical sectors of our economy to promote a homegrown rebalancing of our economy and foremost self-sufficiency. For instance, in the last 7 years, the CBN has injected over 8 trillion naira to support in different sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, health, education, just to mention a few. Your Excellencies, before I leave, just 1 more minute. This is a revelation. Aliko Dangote said that I am one person who has visited this project site more than any of his own staff. The revelation is this, sir. When this project started, we were doubted by foreigners, by our friends. Anytime we traveled abroad to discuss Nigeria's economic outlook abroad, when we used Dangote Refinery as a lifesaver and an opportunity for diversification of our economy, they doubted us. When I returned back to Lagos, I say, Aliko, are you sure this project will work? He says it will work. I say, Aliko, let's go to the project. So we go. I go around. I conduct an interview with television people, and I just tell myself, it will happen. I go back again, the same story comes up. But I'm saying, for me today, history is made in Nigeria. The credit goes.
Welcome to my channel, where we discuss everything and all things politics, especially about the 2023 presidential election held in Nigeria on February 25, 2023. In this video, we're going to deal with issue that is a fallout from the 2023 presidential election. And it has to do with the suspended governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. Now, if you have been following what has been happening since Asuaju, Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn in as president on May 29th, you will be aware that Emefiele has become the foreguard of the Buhari administration. He has been suspended from his job and is being detained. And if you get snippet of information coming out over his arrest and detention and suspension, the kind of things people say about Emefiele right now, you will think that it was Emefiele that was elected president of Nigeria in 2015 and re-elected president in 2019. But Emefiele is just one of the officials that Buhari inherited in 2014, inherited in 2015. But you'll be forgiven to think that Emefiele was the reason why the economy of Nigeria is the way it is. You will think that Emefiele was the coordinating minister of finance, like Okonjo-Iweala was in the administration of during the PDP administration, because everything that is wrong with the economy is blamed on Emefiele. Yet, it was not Emefiele that went around the country in 2015 saying that Jonathan is not running the economy well, that they are going to run it better than Emefiele. Better than Jonathan, sorry. It was Buhari that said he knows the solution to Nigeria's economic problems. But today, Emefiele is suffering in detention. And everybody is blaming him for all that is wrong with the economy of Nigeria. Is that really the case? Or is this a political vendetta? I, first of all, allow you to watch what Dangote said about Emefiele in respect to the Dangote refinery. And then allow you to listen to Emefiele himself. Yet this same Emefiele, who Tinubu, when he was at the head of state's summit in Paris, described him as operating a rotten system, financial system, was the one that made Dangote refinery a reality. You heard Dangote say that that refinery would not have been completed if not for Emefiele. And Emefiele galvanized the financial system to make it a reality. You may have your reservations about both the kind of business agenda of Dangote and how Emefiele ran the central bank. But from the speech you heard from Dangote, who this present government is relying on his refinery to bail them out of the quagmire that the country is in because of the amount of money we lose annually on importation of fuel. So you can see that it is not entirely true what they are saying about Emefiele in terms of his running the country aground as if he was the head of state or the president. But what I want us to look at now, you have heard from Dangote himself and you have heard from Emefiele. Emefiele's voices are no longer heard again, but at least in this channel you can hear him from what he said. But why I want us to look at this video is, I made this video because I wanted to find out what is the international community saying. What are the international media saying about what is going on in Nigeria? Because oftentimes, detention of a top official like Emefiele is shrouded in secrecy. The government don't tell you anything. DSS don't tell you anything. You know nothing that was going on. And they, from time to time, release one or two information to their media friends. Just what they want you to hear. So in my curiosity, since I'm a subscriber to Bloomberg, so I went to Bloomberg to find out what they have to say about Emefiele's suspension. Because I know that in all parts of the world, it's unheard of that central bank governor will be detained because he sends wrong signal to the international community, to the international financial system. Okay? Because there are so many propaganda going on now that you don't hear. One of the propagandas they told you recently, many of you may not have heard of it, that they told you that people are protesting in Benin Republic because they removed fuel subsidy in Nigeria. It was a total lie. There was no evidence that people were protesting in Cameroon, protesting in Niger, protesting in Benin Republic, that Nigeria removed fuel subsidy. It was just propaganda they sold to Nigeria, and nobody that cared to investigate to find out that it was all a bunch of lies. So we are living in an information age, yet information is not readily available to so many people. That is why channels like mine exist, so that people can have alternative information of what is really going on. So I went to Bloomberg to find out what is really going on. What are they to say? What are they to say about Nigeria's suspended governor of Central Bank? Then I saw an interesting story which revealed a lot of things that is going on. And also, you have not heard much from the lawyers of Emefiele. But in this report by the Bloomberg, they really reveal a lot of things that the lawyers are saying and what the DSS themselves are also saying. And then before I go further on that, if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. Now, according to Bloomberg, in the report, which they title Nigeria Police Oppose Suspended Central Bank Governor's Bail Bid, or Nigeria Police Oppose Suspended Central Bank Head's Bail Bid. According to the report, Governor Godwin Emefiele, according to the report, the suspended head of Nigeria Central Bank, who was detained earlier this month, poses a threat to the nation's security. That's a report by Bloomberg, and should be denied bail. So there was an application for a bail for Emefiele, but the DSS is giving reason why he should be denied bail. So according to Bloomberg, they said that he poses a threat to the nation's security and should be denied bail, the secret police said in a court filing that was cited by Bloomberg of United States. An investigation is underway into whether Godwin Emefiele committed economic sabotage and breached national security rules, according to the filings by the State Security Service dated June 20th and seen by Bloomberg. Other allegations leveled against Emefiele include that he was party to a criminal breach of trust, incitement of violence, and criminal misappropriation of public funds, the DSS said. Emefiele will be immediately charged in court where necessary once the probe is completed, the DSS said, according to the Bloomberg. He has enormous resources at his disposal and can easily interfere with ongoing investigation and even evade subsequent arrest if released on bail, the SSS said. President Bola Tinubu, according to the Bloomberg report, took office late last month, has called for overhaul of the way the central bank conducts itself, and suspended Emefiele on June 9, the day before he was arrested. The SSS said it has obtained a court order to hold the governor for at least 14 days to give it more time to complete its investigation. Just hours after Emefiele's suspension, SSS agents illegally invaded his residence, his lawyer said in bail's proceedings before the High Court in the capital, Abuja. Bloomberg found out. The security officials then unlawfully blindfolded, arrested, and detained Emefiele. So Bloomberg is describing what the lawyers of Emefiele said. They said that he was unlawfully blindfolded, arrested, and detained in subhuman condition, according to the filings dated June 13. I'm sure that you have never heard about this in any of the mainstream media in Nigeria. Now, this is the condition that the lawyers are saying that Emefiele is in. But you have not heard it, but Bloomberg is telling us this from the filings of the lawyers of Emefiele. Emefiele is a victim of a political witch hunt, according to his bail application. The government of former President Muhammadu Buhari, who handed over power to Tinubu on May 29th, was eminently satisfied with the monetary policies under Emefiele, it said. So Bloomberg is reporting that the lawyers of Emefiele is claiming that Buhari was satisfied with the monetary policies of Emefiele. These same monetary policies is what Tinubu called rotten policies in Paris during the summits of heads of government in Paris recently. Now let's go. Now the SSS said in response that the agency is apolitical and Emefiele's arrest was unrelated to his policies, including the central bank's effort to replace high denomination naira notes in the run-up to February's election. Okay, now the SS is saying that the reason for his detention has nothing to do with the monetary policies of the central bank. Okay, so we'll now find out why is he in detention. Those reforms were unpopular. Now Bloomberg is coming again to give an insight into what is going on. He said that those reforms, that's the reforms of the changing the denomination, high denominations of Nigerian currency, were unpopular with Tinubu's allies. Of course, if you are a follower of the media in Nigeria, you know it was unpopular not only to the Tinubu's ally, even to Tinubu himself, because you had him on several occasions during the campaign period where he said that the change of the naira denominations and the naira redesign policy and everything around it was targeted at him. Okay, he says it was targeted at him. He said it's not a secret to many Nigerians that APC and these presidential candidates believe strongly that it was targeted against him. That was why even APC governors took central bank to the Supreme Court. And now Bloomberg is reported that those policies were unpopular with Tinubu's allies, who accused Emefiele of deliberately undermining the ruling party's prospects at the polls. There were no response. Now, Bloomberg initially said that there were no response when they gave, but later in the story, they now got some response. So there were no response to emails seeking comment that was sent to lawyers representing Emefiele. The DSS also didn't respond to a request for comment. However, they eventually got it towards the last part of the story. Now, the response from the lawyers of the central bank governor, suspended central bank governor, said that the bogus allegation by the SSS are not supported by any iota of evidence whatsoever, and that the Emefiele should be released while the agency completes its probe according to his filings. That's the filings for his release. The application also accused the SSS, which was already investigating Emefiele last year, over allegations including money laundering and the misappropriation of funds of disobeying 2 court orders issued in December, barring the agency from detaining the central bank chief. The SSS said that during its investigation of Emefiele, it uncovers collaborators who are at large and ought to be traced and arrested, the agency said. And the Bloomberg also revealed that a court in Abuja will on July 13 hear the bail application of Emefiele. Now, you have seen what an international financial media is saying about the detention of Emefiele. One, you have seen the defense of his lawyers say that all the monetary policies of Emefiele was top-notch and was approved by President Muhammad Buhari administration. And I have been saying this, that there is no way ordinary central bank governor will dictate the direction of Nigeria's currency, the direction of Nigeria's economy without approval. Now, if you say that the Buhari did some things based on their advice of Emefiele, which I doubt very strongly, because even the change of currency, Buhari used to boast about how he did it as a military person and how he has done it as a civilian. And you heard him clearly several Buhari telling you that the reason he did it was to stop vote buyers from hijacking the election. And you saw Tinubu in several campaign stopovers saying that the change in currency was targeted at him. Was Tinubu saying that he is the one that will be buying the votes? Because basically, what Buhari said that the change in Naira design was to stop the hijack of the political process by money bags. Of course, we know that at the end of the day, there was enough blame to go around. It wasn't properly managed. It wasn't properly managed, truth be told, because Nigerians passed through a lot to be able to have access to their money. Some people died in the banks, died in the hospitals because they could not access their money to pay for hospital bills. Those are facts. You can't take away from it. But the fact of the matter also remains that when has it become an issue in Nigeria that leaders have to take the responsibility for this kind of thing? I remember there was a time about over 100,000 people gathered at Abuja Stadium to write an interview or something like that for recruitment in one of the security forces, paramilitary agencies. Several people died through stampede all over the country, in many places. We didn't hear anybody was detained for that. But that doesn't mean that we should allow bad things to happen. But the way it's being painted, this Emefiele, so I'm not making excuses for him. I'm not making excuses for him. But the idea that it was Emefiele that should be held responsible for what happened to our economy in the past 8 years, to me is an insult on the intelligence of Nigerians. Because the person they elected as their president was Muhammad Buhari for 8 years. He is the one that takes the credit if everything goes well. So why should he not take the blame when everything goes bad? I remember Obasanjo in the past used to say that you may be my advisor, but the buck stops at my table. You are free to advise, and it is my right, Obasanjo said, to take your advice, whether to take your advice or not. He was commenting about advisors. So that an advisor is now held responsible for the job of a man that was elected to set the economy aright. It's not fair. That is my position. It is not fair.